Good afternoon to everyone. We hope you're doing well out there wherever you are. We love and bless you.
Good afternoon from spectacular sunny Mesa, where we're still experiencing spring-like weather. We can swim every day, which I absolutely adore for Asurana and myself and our body and life. Thank you for joining us for this webinar.
Here we are with all the doubts of Earth to talk about the assemblage point that's really known as the I Am. Now, long ago, when we were persevering in what you might call a circumstance called ascension, we tried what was called I intend. And I intend is a very beautiful way to go and grow yourself. And that's amazing for me and for you to foster in this journey of ourselves. And here's the thing. I want you to realize that everything on earth is beautiful when you know who you are in the I am of you. In the I am is an amazing infrastructure of a reservoir of Tao and Tao that says, who you are is sacred, who you are is beautiful, who you are is that which loves and cares and sways and knows everything that you need to know to live this life of yours. And that is pure I am that I am that I am. So let's say that in this moment, I am that I am that I am, and put yourself in the centrifugal force of the assemblage point of knowing you. Now, knowing yourself is different because self is a striation of subtle body that holds knowledge of everything that you've tried or experimented with, or the things that you have grown into in this life of yours. So the yourself position is like your memory banks of what you've experienced and the people you've known, what you've cleared as you've forgiven, how you've navigated through your realities at work or at home with family, friends, children, whoever that you know, that's yourself. Knowing yourself is knowing about that aspect of you that is you in relation to each other that you know. But knowing you in the I am that I am that I am position is who are you centrifugally to you separate from everything else. So you know who you are in you in relation to the I am that has to do possibly more with your ability to seek your spiritual path than anything else. So it is truly the I am that I am that I am when it opens that begins to direct what you call self-realization. All of you have an I am that I am that I am that you've opened, and we just say to you, well, how many times perhaps so far have you actually connected with it at all, okay? If you haven't connected with it at all, it's because it opened and you didn't know what to do about it. What you have to do about it is meditate and go inward and say, I am that I am that I am, and then listen to what that is that means in knowing you. Some take time for meditation at some point. Some of you do it mostly as you rest in the evening, and that's okay too. Some of you are more meditative throughout your day. But in the I am, there is a centrifugal force that says, this is who you are. As you love, you fly with spirit. You care with others. You sway with others. And mostly you want to know who you are in the I am of you. Knowing you and asserting what that is are two different things, because knowing comes in a state of being that is often non-verbal. So often, when you know who you are the best, no words come to mind. It's just a feeling or a flavor of something that you are yearning about, maybe in the forgiveness of you that sprouts more care space or more heart space or more love and a flight path with spirit, in which you soar and you're joyful. You soar. And in that moment, in the I am, that I am, that I am, you're in pure joy, and you sway with your Tao, and you sing with your Tao, and the angels come along for the ride. You're absolutely amazed at what that causes over the course of that day, because you're purely knowing you and maybe no one else. So in the depths of knowing you is a connection to spirit, and the connection to spirit is deep and intrinsically beautiful, intrinsically caring, and completely separate from everyone else in your life, because spirit is an intimacy between you and it only. And so that is also when Tao and Tao and spirit fly with you together. And in that moment, it is purely you, in you, in you, in the I am, that I am, that I am, that in that moment you know exactly who you are. Perhaps later words will flow to express what that meant, to experience that moment, that flight path, that recognition of who you are intrinsically in you. Generally speaking, the moment that you go to think about somebody else, the motion and the flight path and the I am, that I am, that I am recedes. So if you focus outward, you lose that flavor of knowing you. It's an odd society where people turn sometimes inside out into each other. And some people have a really hard time finding the I am of the I am of the I am, because they're too enmeshed or intertwined with others. Therefore, today for each of you, we purify that as a blessing from the angels who have joined us now in these webinars. So now we're expanding more in our assemblage points to include angels in addition to Tao action to support the motion of where you're headed or where you're going or what it is you are to do in this life of yours. For the I am, that I am, that I am cannot really be known unless the angels are there to soar with you on a flight path of their own, and that is an opening to a chalice. The flight can be very joyful, and it can feel very loving, and perhaps you do that best when you go out on a hike or a walk in a beautiful countryside circumstance, or you go by the sea, or you go someplace beautiful that you love. And suddenly you can sing with your angels, and the I am of who you are opens, and you're there in that moment, flying, knowing exactly who you are to yourself into spirit. Dows and Taos can sing too, and they have melody lines. So one thing you can choose to do when you want to be in the I am of you is choose to sing with your Tao and Tao and the angels. The songs are scripted in chimes and bells and music that you may not recognize entirely. Some artisans try to bring through music that emulates what dows and taos and angels may sing, but rarely can they capture it exactly the way that it occurs within the energy field and the light interplay of the you of the you of the you. You may or may not hear the music at all because in the psychosis of the psyche there is a way of disconnecting or disregarding what spirit sings at you all the time when they're around you. As Sarana listened to a beautiful chime that came in for a student who requested a consultation, she received much healing over the Christmas holidays, and it was perky. It was like a South American quartet of sound that had a rhythm and a beat that will help keep her joyful so she is not sorrowful in her life any longer. It was beautiful to hear it, and it plays twice a day, and she can sing and dance in herself with it and perk up and smile more and laugh more about her life and whatever else she's adventuring to do for herself. So some songs are custom as to who you are in the you of the you of the you. And for her, this was her sacred song of the you of the you of the you deep within herself. And it was a happy melody of a South American stanza of be joyful, be merry, be wonderful in you, and be wonderful with each. Know who you are and sing and dance with others, and you be better in your life. Each of you have a sacred song that is coming to be more graciously through the Tao system of origins. The origin Taos have entered your existences, and they're re-incanting the song of the you of the you of the you, or the I am of the I am of the I am, so that you can know yourself through a melee that's right for you. And maybe in time you be attracted to a musician or some music that reminds you of that truth for you. For some, it can be perky and merry. For others, it's a lullaby of a melody that is very sweet and enhance a joyfulness of a Tinkerbell sort of circumstance. And yet others may be very melodious or dramatic like a Beethoven symphony because you're a drama queen or king in yourself. Some of them may be very passionate in how they do their stanza of music. For others, it's much more of a crescendo of an acoustic guitar piece that enchants you and makes you mystical and magical in the I am of who you are. That's what we say to each of you. Those pieces or stanzas of music are customized by your Tao, and the Tao of origin has assessed each of you and brought in new music as of this last week to reflect upon. It's playing now and you may or may not hear it, because often these sounds of angels are obstructed by the psyche in the education system that you went through. The education system of humanity batters the psyche until you no longer hear or witness spirit very much. That's very sad for us to witness because most by age 9 to 14 shut down their psychic capabilities and they can't witness the angels and what they're trying to speak to them or say to them when they were in that time period to try to comfort them or bring them another direction to turn and focus upon in their lives. That shutdown or meltdown of psychic awareness sometimes never reopens, and then it's hard to discern much of anything that the angels may wish to share. And if that's true, then the I am, the I am, the I am isn't even an opening sometimes within you because that requires more psychic perception to connect to. We will be fostering another series of webinars that Asarana will write about over the New Year holiday that has to do with enchanting you with the ability to hear your angels. We feel that dovetails with the opening to the I am, that I am, that I am, so that you can realize more about your life and what it is that spirit might have to say about your journey rather than just the Tao's or even Asarana in her psychic perception as she works with you. So we're here to just say that we're going to support a bigger opening in the psyche to hearing the angels, and that requires a fair amount of repair on the part of the angelic system and less so of Tao. So first, we address your assemblage points and we get them working as they should. Next, we'll address your pivot points, which is the way that you model in and out of different assemblage points in any given day or week or month of your lifespan. And we'll speak to what they are and how they work and how to motion them in one or another so that you can be in all of the assemblage points that you're gearing up. At this time, there's 12 that we're working with, and they're all very personal in terms of what you receive, and then there will be another 6 that open up, leading to a total of 18 for self-realization cause. So this will be number 13, and the I am, the I am, the I am assemblage point, for you to know you deep within you in intrinsic flight path with angels that soars, sings, plays, and triggers you to just be more than action. So we're going to speak about beingness versus action. Beingness doesn't usually have words, although it can if you're gifted at soaring and hearing. Some are and some aren't, and it's very difficult to know what that may mean or not mean in this life of yours. I'm here to tell you that soaring with spirit, with words, is usually difficult, so it's better to go into a state where your mind kind of goes blank or sings with music. Some soar better in their flight paths if they find beautiful music and put it on in the background and put the words aside and just feel the music and motion with it in a dance or in some other way. Sometimes driving is useful to flying with spirit too, because you put the music on and you soar. You flow down the highway, and something about the scenery flowing by, or the clouds in the sky with the sun behind it, or the enchanting forest you're witnessing, or the beautiful blue sea, or the lakeside, or whatever is gorgeous to you, somehow triggers you to go into the I am of the I am of the I am. And suddenly you're just there, and as you drive down the highway, you know this is just stupendous. I am who I am, and I'm grand, and this is great. Sometimes that can occur while riding the trains or trolleys too, because you're not trying to think of something else other than just being a human to go on to where you're needed next, and that's beautiful for each of you. I'm very sad for some who never know how to be. Some people have such active mental bodies that is always talking in the psyche of you, and there are a few like that actually in this group. But there are people that just have a mental issue where they talk and talk and talk and talk inside themselves, and they may be kind of a blabbermouth when you get near them, because all they really want to do is talk and talk and talk, and they don't know how to be or even listen to you. That's a person who could never realize anything about anything because their mental body is way overactive. See, when you be, it's like your emotional accord is present and the mental accord subsides. So you can also think about that too in times where you need to just find that I am of you. Well, I need my emotional accord to expand and my mental accord to decrease, and then I can just be as I drive along the highway, or I take a walk, or I sit here listening to beautiful music as I meditate, and then suddenly I am in that space where I just know myself. I know me. I am the I am of me. And so, in this psychic world, most people also never know that I am of who they are because they're in front of the television at the end of the day. They go to work and they blah, 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 blah. They do, and they never be, not even at lunch, because they're running their errands. And then they come home and they cook and they clean and they put on the boob tube before they even sit down. So the boob tube or television increases mental agitation, but it also increases the incapacity of knowing that I am, that I am, that I am, that you are, see? Therefore, music with words can have that effect too. And so if you want to be more, then find acoustic music that you can enjoy without needing to hear the words sing along. And that's very helpful to being in many ways because many artisans that came through the last metaphysical cycle of perhaps 20 years, the Tao of the planet really geared the music up to be a short path so that you could find that I am of you easier. For those that needed to self-realize in this lifetime. That's very helpful to do periodically or maybe in the background of your life sometime. And at work, perhaps you can put some music on earplugs and put it on and listen to it anyway, even though you're busy at the computer or doing something else, and maybe that's helpful to you. In the being mode, there is a motion of certainty of who you are and where you're going, and why this is so for you to be here in this motion. And so certainty comes out of the assemblage point of the I am or of you, and in that certainty, then you're more equipped to make decisions about where you're going to go or who you're going to be with or what you need to do next in this life of yours. If there's a change ahead to bring you to another level of something else, you need to understand to realize something else about yourself ahead. Therefore, it's in that I am position that you know your action of change, whatever it may be. Because you feel in that position, you're now working the underground or the foundry of the change, and you're now working the action so that you can go and grow in the direction you need to go to manifest the dreams that take your life in a new direction. And so that's the gift of the I am position of assemblage point or knowing you. That in knowing you and your I am, you absolutely know what action to take to go into next, to grow in the direction that's going to continue to self-realize you. In that knowing, there's no fear because lots of times with change, there's uncertainty and fear about where you're headed next, or if it's going to all work out, or if everything is going to align. Well, when you get back into the beingness and in the flight path of the angels, and then I am, the I am, the I am position, the fear subsides, and you absolutely know that the direction that you're taking is really for you, and that nothing else is going to dissuade you where you're going to go, even your partner or your child or your mother or your father. Sometimes it's best not to tell them about what you're going to create until after you've done it, because then you can say, well, it's already done and it worked out, and don't worry about it. Because if you tell them about it, it raises their hairs on their knuckles, because you're making a big change or going in another direction, and they don't believe it could ever work out, because they don't have an I am, the I am, the I am position at all in life. You wonder where all the worry, fear, and turmoil people go into many times a year over either life changes or fears of something that never actually ever occur, and they're in it because there's no I am, the I am, the I am in the you position of knowing you for them to go to know that they're going to be okay. That's a very sad thing about this society. It just seems that there is so little that supports the growth of the I am presence in the archaeologies that are incarnate in the 8 billion people here on earth. They just have no I am position. They have no threading in a way to find their certainty inside themselves. And so they worry and they fear and they terrorize their family or children sometimes with their fears. Sometimes they do a lot of things that are very difficult for everyone else, like hoard fortunes out of their own personal fear and don't share with anyone what they could give that might ease the comfort of another life or contribute to the end of this societal problem called starvation or poverty or whatever it is there that then generates crime like drug abuse, because they need money and it's the only way they can generate it. And then they get more and more people on drugs, and then they lose the possibility of going any other direction inward, because drugs in and of themselves push you into altered states that are not necessarily generated by the angels in the I am of you. Sometimes we recommend moderate consumption of alcohol, such as red wine or white wine or champagne, and perhaps a little hard liquor, because that can actually see you more greatly back into the I am of you, which is art, but alcohol does when drugs do not. As Sarana doesn't consume alcohol because of her practice of the inner light and sound meditation. But for those of you that don't have such restrictions, moderate consumption of alcohol is okay. It's simply a reality issue because the reality of drugs is an I am of some drug clean. So you go in there and you're high and you think that's you and it's not. And then you can make ill decisions thinking that that's your truth to do something odd or here or there when really it isn't, because you're in the I am of the drug plane and not in the I am of you. So we say don't do drugs. Even peyote, for its beautiful substances that may be from a little mushroom that gives the people a certain acid that helps their color grow, it can also have its planes these days. And as such, you may not be in the I am of you in discerning what you really need to do on such substances. It can also be true for ayahuasca, and so we recommend you stay away from that because you need to know who you are intrinsically with your own angels, with your own body level angel, your own archangels, and your Tao and Tao at the base of your foundry. We're very much going to say that the I am presence of everyone is a need that's very great to feel. That people are longing to feel their own I am. They're longing to feel their own truths and they can't get there. And so they do the drugs to try to simulate it. But it doesn't really help them in the end because they never really get into the intrinsic motion of who they are and the beingness and themselves outside of being on the drug. That's a hard position and hard line to take. The angels are here to tell you what they see amongst the drug users of humanity, even the ones that use sacred medicinals. The sacred medicinals can put them in a shamanic plane which simulates the I am of you but isn't really you. And so you're there in the I am system of some shaman that generated it a long time ago, and you think, well, isn't this wonderful? And this feels like I know who I am, but you really don't. So we advise you, given the way Earth is structured and it shares reality space, not to go into drug issuances or other things and stick with the realization of you and the purity of your diet. Simulate what you need to find your beingness inside your own life range, meaning find the music that works, find the actions that work, find where you like to go that puts you back into the I am of you rather than being outside or inside out. And the realities of the grocery stores or the malls or the workplace or wherever else you need transit that's human, restaurants, and so on. Each of those have their own realities, but they are not the I am of you. It may be by the ocean or in the woods or someplace beautiful you like to go, that there is an issuance of nature that says, be in the I am of you and not us, but be in the I am of you. As Sarana used to find it a lot in her early awakening at the beach, and she drive all the way to Sunset Beach Park on Oahu to walk for a few hours and then go to a juice bar to have a smoothie and a veggie wrap, which was her standard at that time. And there she could feel for the first time the beingness of herself, and in that she was redirected to do her psychic work and later start her teachings and write her books and then the website and everything else that came through, because she became very gifted at going into the I am of herself and staying there for hours and hours every day. So what do you need to do is to go into the I am of you and stay there for hours and hours each day. Some of you who are retired will find time for that. For others that have to work, that's very difficult, but you have your weekends and your evenings and sometimes nights when you can't sleep. So the sleepless night can be a gift, and that Asarana understood too. And in Hawaii, all she could really do was lay on the couch at night. And since she'd sleep for a few hours and wake up again, and she'd go into the I am of herself, and she bliss out and fly and then hear the direction for her life and what to do next. Sometimes she got up in the middle of the night and they said, "Go write so we have something to say." So she'd write a new article or a new essay, and she fly with spirit as she wrote, and that's a very unusual thing to do in this human context of people who don't fly with spirit in the first place, let alone fly with spirit when they write. Some composers fly with spirit as they produce or write their music, and that's easier in some ways than putting words to flight paths, but Asarana learned how to put words of the angels to the flight paths, and then it worked out beautifully in her early days of writing and right into today's worthiness of writing. We'll say worthiness because when she flies with spirit, there's a knowing of whatever said that is very truthful to light wave knowledge that humanity may never grasp, even if they wanted to, from what she's written. And she knows that, and she knows that you grasp it, and you're a handful in many ways of people that get a redirection of things that most may never receive from DAOs and TAOs that care for starseeds, because starseeds still have their holographic and hyper wisdom, and in that is built in a general journey where you discover the I am of you, and you discover the you of you, and you discover that needs to direct your life rather than the outside, which is where everybody else goes to. You go to the world and say, well, what am I here to do? You go to your boss and figure it out. You go to your mother, your father, your teacher, and you go to university because it needs to tell you what to do rather than you going inward and discerning your own truth and your archetypal wisdom. And in that, you generate a dream that's sincerely there from your Tao and Tao rather than society at large. You can do that and are being redirected to do that to the angels and archangels and to the Taos and Taos working with you who wish you to experience a journey that's directed from the inside of you rather than the outside of you. That's the very hard thing because the play of humanity is always exterior and not interior. In other galaxies where star seeds are incarnate, the journey is both interior and exterior. And when they match and align, you dream them together. And everybody is in that same system, so everybody dreams from the inside of themselves rather than the outside. Here, most everybody dreams on the outside and not the inside at all. And then those that dream on the inside often have a hard time attracting the dreams that match. That's the tough part of this current societal greed-based issue, because you can't flow from this job to that job or try this and that as you might do in a script-based society where you weren't restrained by economy. You can't learn to express yourself in new ways because the only way you can do that is maybe to re-educate yourself, and even in that there's a limitation to how far you can dream from the inside of you to the outside unless you're in a profession that caters to people. Now, if you're catering to people as a manager or out in the public works like restaurants or where people come in flow, hotels, airline services, or even in schools where you're working with children or teenagers, or even in the university level, the I am presence of you directs you to know that in the internal dream. You can dream stream it with people so your own inner dream can become the outer dream as long as people are the main direction of your journey. So if you're a counselor, then you can dream from the inside to the outside to help them heal. If you're a teacher, you can dream from the inside to the outside to help them know something new. If you're a professional, even in a healing service, like a hospital or hospice, or some other kind of naturopathic consideration, you can dream stream from the inside to the outside that you help these people heal through medicinals. You can dream stream in many ways from the inside to the outside as long as it's really oriented towards people. Now, if it's oriented towards a machine, then that's not possible. Well, as Aranak would say, I can write on my machine, but the truth is, the machine is just the backdrop from which I compose my written work as I fly with my angels. So if there's creativity, with the machine is like a piece of art. You're doing something that's beautiful to create something that's beautiful that inspires others. And in this case, it could be words. It could be art, because art is also associated with the computer these days. But many people are in attraction of a very mundane kind of job where it's really about machines generating something that people think they need and go and purchase, whatever that may be. And the creativity is lost in that aspiration. And also, it's hard to be in the I am of you in that kind of workspace at all, or dream it from the inside of you. So the corporate circumstance dreams your dreams in that circumstance of a mechanized reality where perhaps you're working printing presses or some other kind of machine that generates something that people need. That's true even in construction or landscaping. It's kind of mechanical and dreaming that from the inside out is not as easy as you might think, but as long as it contains the words within words of many people, then you can dream from the inside out. And so we guide you to strive for a profession where you can be involved with people regularly, more so than equipment or machinery or something else like that takes away from your ability to know yourself and dream from within the I am of you. Dreaming from within the I am of you is Tao-inspired objective and a Tao-oriented dream. So when we tell you to Tao dream, you have to be in the I am of you in order to generate your Tao dream for any given day. Usually it's a day-by-day dream that has a stream of commonality as you go future through time. So it's a day-by-day dreaming to Tao dream from the I am of you and not someone else, or not some drug playing, or not some reality that really doesn't belong to you. And so in the now, the Taos are shedding gates to other realities that conflict with the I am of you, becoming the modality from which you function to generate that you're here to do. It's a very sacred action for Tao to do this for you because there's many ill forces that have somehow collided or cascaded down upon earth that are going to be confusing for society maybe in the end. But they're in particular more confusing for those who are trying to self-realize than anything else because they get into the works of your own I am presence and then tell you to do things that aren't necessarily true for you at all, and they come through gates. So in this moment, I want you to close all gates into the I am of you so you can be purely there with your body angels and your Tao and Tao at this time. The body angels connect to the archangels when you fly, and then there's communication stream that goes back and forth between all of you. At this time, we are devising a system with 4 body level angels, and the reasoning behind this is sometimes they get scrapped upon or cracked, and then they can't function for you as they're needed to. That's a very sad thing to happen because it can lead to other problems that are physical along within the dream stream of you. And so for angels, they self-recreate, But every day when you go into the I am of you and you sit there in the beingness of the you of you, check to make sure that you have all four angels present and help them regroup if they've gotten stunned by something that may be in a neighbor, someone you cross paths with, or a child or family member that perhaps you don't live with. It's our advice to only be with people who are star seeds in a living environment and leave all others to living with someone else, as it's very difficult for seeds to be not with either a seedling or a seed spouse. Most of you are with either seedlings or seed spouses, and that's better for you, but it's very difficult with the creatures entering the dance of the non-physical for people to be together in any kind of close quarter, because the creatures come through the other person and then into you and then confuse you in your path of realization as to where you need it and where you need to go, where you need to be, and what you need to do. It's a sad time where these forces need to be eliminated, and that's the job of your four body level angels, to keep you free and clear to be in you and know yourself and know that I am of yourself enough to realize yourself in this lifetime and lifeline of you. Now we're here to talk about many things today about the you of you. Shatar wrote a series of essays about the play of you and the you of you, and inside the I am, the I am, the I am, you are the centrifugal center point of your stage play of life. So you're in the center of it. You are on stage, and that's you devising your life dream with all the other players on the outside dancing the way you want them to dance and not necessarily the way they want to dance. And in that, you project the dream that you devise for the you of you and the I am of you on top of the people you dream with at work or at home or at play and wherever you may go. Your, your projection is a causal light that then caused them to dream alongside you in the way that you would like them to dream rather than maybe themselves. So perhaps their behavior changes and is less disgruntled, or they seem cheerful, or you throw them in another assemblage point where the grumpy bear can become the kind old father figure, and suddenly there's a kinship there rather than something else that doesn't work out very well for you or maybe them either. So you can motion people into another assemblage points, but in order to do that, you have to be center stage in your play. So at work, you have to remain in the I am of you, and there you can direct the assemblage points of others to change to be more complementary to the world of you. You can't change them to be complementary to anybody else, and so don't ever try that, because you are only the stage play of you and not anybody else ever. And that will syncopate a rhythm of perhaps a time now you would like to go back and reread Chateau's section on the website about his perception of realization of you. And maybe it will make more sense now that we construct an assemblage point that allows you to enter the I am more recurrently in any given week. We'll put you there a lot as you rest, and so if you can't sleep, you go inward and listen to the I am of you, go into the beingness, and then see if you can sing with the angels, and then see if you can begin to interpret what the angels have to say about your life, or what to do next as you gain speed in what you were here to do in this lifeline as a starseed. There's many redirections for some of you to go in a new direction that maybe you didn't think you would aspire to. But wherever they are, you know that deep inside you, and not from anything else anybody else says, including even Asarana. And we would just like to say that too, because she tries to channel Tao and Tao and angels now purely, and not have her persona get in the way. She doesn't want to misadvise you from what all the forces have to say. And so she's here to just say, even so, discern it deep inside you, in the I am of who you are, and then make your choices directly out of that perspective, that anchor point, and that life map, and all these things that you're trying to grow as you're growing into something new you would like to contribute towards others or towards humanity. Whatever it is, there's always something to understand about you in relation to another, but in the position of I am that I am that I am, you're not thinking about any other. It's just you and you and you in this space of here I am, and here I love, and here I fly, and here I know, and here I care, and here I sway, and here I love, and I am that I am that I am. That's a very sacred Tao action place to put you to understand the travel walks of you. Now that's another concept we'll bring up. We're going to bring up a little picture here. This is from Yellowstone. This pool has since changed colors and is over, I think, 250 degrees. It's a thermal system coming up from a sea deep under that's boiling. In this moment, there was this cave down in the middle, and the whole little angel scene that were just beautiful angels that were purer than most you see on the land, because they purify up through the boiling sea, and they're up many octaves. They say to her, you will know that I am of you, and you will realize yourself. And after you realize yourself, you fly home with the angels, and it will be okay with us. Be well with you, and let every student in your school fly free in their own way to know themselves and realize themselves, because they'll only be starseeds in the end. Astronaut liked that incantation at that time and didn't recall it except to the photo, but it was a beautiful incantation the angels gave to her. It said, "You're really an angel in physical form, and you need to fly home because that's how you release from a body like this in an incantation of our own, that you fly home and not sink into hell or some other darkness that these other people that our oligarchy society know." And that's a blessing from the angels for each of you, that you learn to soar and fly home and not sink into the darkness as you pass the physical plane, but go in another direction that's beautiful. And then finally, when you're through, you let go. But in the meantime, as you soar with the angels, there is a creative expression that needs to come forward, because the flight path home is not the flight path of life, but they do coincide and one day generate the direction of that path home. And so there is the journey, and then there's the time the journey completes. But in the journey, the flight path of angels is useful to help you discern in the I am of you, in the you of you, who it is that you are, that makes this world wonderful in this journey of expressing your artistic or creative endeavors, or wherever you would like to share with the people that you work with, from dream streaming it from within you as a Tao dreamer of you, rather than dreaming their dream, whatever that may mean in this world around you. That's a big angelic message about angels. Angels do support the lives of all humans, but they're particularly interested in adepts that are here to self-realize, because you're in a unique class of humans that's different from all the others. Because you do have an I am presence of yourself, so you know who you are, some in the beingness of you, to understand this world that you caused within yourself. And that's unusual for the angels, so they flock towards you to observe you and understand what you're going to do next in this dream stream within you. In the end, they also want you to dream stream with them too, and they'll rearrange your world, some with your Tao and Tao, to align better with others who may be on a parallel path, not meaning they're just dreaming with society. Society can be like a chalkboard too, as you can kind of write over it and create something new, and in many cases that works, and sometimes it doesn't, because people aren't as malleable as perhaps every star seed would like. You can't take a jerk in your life and maybe change them over into something beautiful. Perhaps that's not possible, and the best you can do is cut and run and say, "I'm not going to see you again," or change jobs, or leave a family member that just disturbs you too much, or whatever it is that's happened in your crusade to try to understand someone. If you marry the wrong partner, have been living with them for a time, and you know you can't change them anymore into what you need, you finally let go and say, ah, that just can't work out with this society. Perhaps it can't in many ways. For some it does, and that's beautiful when it all flies together in humans that are seas or ceilings who work well together, sway together, find beauty and grace together. And it's very sick when it's something else. But be at peace and know yourself. Know the you of you of you, of the I am, the I am, the I am. And life will be very different after that because you find yourself not thinking about others as much as soaring with spirit and having a grand time in the percolation of your own lifeline, you see. We have another picture here. In this picture is a very, very beautiful scene, and we think it's Medicine Lake. It was a beautiful spring day, and it was clear. In Medicine Lake is a percolation of sacredness, and the lake said to Asarana that day, in the sacredness of you is the enchantment of the fairies. This is a message more of the fairies, and we're going to explain the difference between fairies and angels. Angels are little balls of light that go into every cell, and you have 4 balls of light directing your boundaries as the body level angel system moves in today. The fairies are the little angels that direct nature, and they sometimes spawn little ethereal creatures called gnomes, or there's some other word for it. I think of in Norway trolls. Sometimes they form what looks like a human with wings, and those are little fairies of the forest in the woods. They are there, but generally they recede from people as people are too harsh for their energy systems anymore. But Asarana was in a big blessed state either before or following our DAS or Dreamtime Ascension School event when she adventured here. There was no one else in the parking lot, and so the fairies of the forest and the lake all came out to greet her, and they said, be the fairy of you because you're the fairy of the woods too. Be the fairy of the stream and the lake in all the love that you have of nature and a planet that's actually dying in receding its existence soon, but loved it anyway, and know that everything has a birth and a death and a cycle in between. Right now you're in the cycle between, and you're happy about your journey, and you have a partner that's still here, and one day he'll be dead. That's kind of tough to understand. Sometimes a fairy say, but it's like that for us too. For we recycle ourselves and we grow anew, and then we aerate and move up into the gases of the heavens. When we're in heaven, we're in heaven. When we're here, we're on earth. And remember, when you soar home, you go home to heaven and nothing else. So that was their message for you and as a runner in this beautiful photo of Medicine Lake. We love you very much, and we're going to share a little bit more as we go back to our prose here. In the woods of you is not where the you of you of you, or the I am, the I am, the I am is really. So if you have a tendency to push yourself inside out into nature, into beautiful places that you like to go, pull yourself out of that dream, even with fairies, and put it back into the center of you, in the centrifugal force of you, so that you know who you are, even separate from nature. Nature is beautiful, and many times it's easier to go into nature and feel their wonder than it is to be inside of you when you have something big to forgive or release or understand about this life stream of yours. Nature is accommodating and should take you in, but then something else may not occur to you that you really need to look at and realize about your life. That you need to forgive and you need to motion in a new direction or change something that you're not quite grasping. And that's the problem. Sometimes we're sharing the I am of you with nature. And the fairies welcome it because they love humans that are gentle. But in this time period of your momentum towards self-realization, is very much best for you to know you separate even from nature. In partnership, there's a tendency to know each other too, and the I am space of you is also your husband, or your wife, or your boyfriend, or girlfriend, or however that may go for any of you. If they're your twin flame, then sometimes you will feel the I am of your twin more than yourself, and that can be very confusing as to where you go and what you do in this life of yours. So allow your partner, even if he is a ceiling, to know himself too, and let him have the I am, the I am, the I am of himself or herself, so that you can have the I am, the I am of you in you. Then you might find that things sort out and your lives go in a better direction because they'll discern their own guidance about where they're needed, and so will you. That's better for anybody in any jurisdiction of reality of life, because especially with twins, it's easy to try to direct somebody or your partner in a direction you think they should go, and it may catch so strongly they actually go do that when really they needed to do something else for the I am of the self of them or the you of them. And so we say, be well with that. And if you have children that you're raising, make sure that you allow them the I am presence of themselves within their own heart accolade. And do that for yourself too, because families tend to merge and blend, sometimes especially when children are very, very little. Allow your spouse to do the same if he's co-raising the kids, and then in that you find a certainty about who you are, where you're going, what you need to do. If there's a major life change ahead, you discern it in the I am of you, and you know it, and you go there, and you won't then maybe injure yourself in some other way that might be there in the issuances of patterns that are in the societal streaming of those that are not seas or ceilings. And so in that you will know where to be and where to go and where to grow and not be injured in anybody else's sick dream stream. So the assemblage point of the I am, the I am, the I am is also a protective insurgence of dreaming that you're in just the right place, in just the right time, in a divine timing of your Tao, to never be in a sick experience ever that involves the physical and that may upset emotional discordant experiences too, as you simply avoid the ones that might be ill or want to do something weird in their behavior. You won't call them near to you, or you're in a different shopping mall or a different restaurant or wherever else that it doesn't blow up, because it's really true for you to foster that experience due to Tao dreaming in the I am of you. And so with that, we intend sacred blessings around each of you to be just where you're needed in any given moment, in any given day, so that you will always be here and be safe and be here to realize the understanding that you're attempting to realize in the I am of you. Realization in the I am of you expands the I am, the I am, the I am. Is not another I am that it expands into. Is that you know you so well that you are in the I am of the I am 24 hours a day. That's a mastery threshold all of its own that's called self-realization. That you're always in your I am, and in your I am is always your Tao and Tao and now angels to direct your life. And in that there is a certainty about where you're going and where you're heading that is very true and personal to your own life path and map. If that's your goal, state that today, because there's no reason you can't realize yourself into the I am of you 24 hours a day. It's not that difficult, but it takes departing from the issues of others that need to be caustic to that space or sway with that space, or they want to know you instead of themselves. So they motion into you, or they feel better when they're in the I am of you, and then you feel ill or unwell. Or they want to grow into you because they don't know how to grow into an I am presence that isn't there for them because they're part of the oligarchy society. So in this is a boundary issue too that we wish to speak to, that in the boundary of you and the I am of you, you hold the space for just you knowing you and no one else. Sometimes that's easier in some professions than in others. And sometimes it's easier with one type of child or spouse than another. Therefore, we bless you for those on the path of the two to remember that even if you're with the twin flame, that you need to have that I am of you separate from them at all times in order to realize you. When you realize you know what you need to do next. You know where you need to go. You know what you need to produce or create to foster this life of yours, and you be beautiful in all of it until that comes to be true. It's with that blessing that we leave you today on this magical day after Christmas, where the archangels are singing planet-wide. So please experience that as you soar and sway and receive the rest of the healing from this session. We love you always, and from beautiful Mesa, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we say Namaste.